Hi, welcome to another orientation course for the new recruits of the NAULR University Law Review. My name is Chima and I'll be guiding you through this course. This course is part of a series of specially designed basic orientation courses for the newly engaged members of the review. And the title of this course is English for Editing. Now, as an editor for the review, much of your work is going to involve identifying and correcting spelling and punctuation and grammatical errors in the works that you review. And of course, you have to have a good knowledge of English language, and you have to understand linguistic components for you to be able to discharge your functions, your duties effectively. So that's what this course is designed for. It's designed to enable you to gain knowledge on these aspects of English language. In this course, we're going to be considering two major topics: punctuation and grammar. And it's important to remember that this course is not a comprehensive course by any means, but it can be considered to be a useful overview with regards to these topics which it treats. We're going to be considering punctuation first, and under punctuation we're going to be looking at perhaps two of the most misused punctuation marks in the English language: the comma and the semicolon. Now, the comma is one of the most misused punctuation marks in English language. Like I've said, it is used in a variety of ways, and I've outlined some of the ways in which a comma is used in this course. So we're going to be running through them very quickly. The first is to separate the day and month from the year, and a special day from the year. For example, February 19, 1996, or Independence Day, 1960. Now, this is not the most obvious use of a comma, but it's still important to know this. Comma is also used to set off explanatory matters in a sentence. For example, Zulu, the first female Nigerian playwright, is a professor at the University of Ilorin. Now, in this particular sentence, the noun phrase, the first female Nigerian playwright, explains who Zulu is, and it's separated on either side with a comma. Comma is also used to separate two words in a sentence whose proximity is likely to lead to a misreading. For example, to students, lecturers are tireless taskmasters. Now, this sentence is going to be a lot less readable without the comma in between the students and the lecturers. Comma is also used to separate a person's name from his title or designation. For example, Mr. Ozonia Ujielu, barrister and solicitor. Another use of a comma is to mark off conjunctive adverbs which serve as sentence or paragraph connectors, such as however, moreover, furthermore, etc. The example we have here is: you will discover, however, that the red table wine is tastier than the white one. Now, this makes the sentence more readable. The inclusion of commas on either side of however makes the sentence more readable. Comma is also used to mark off dependent and independent clauses. Now, a dependent clause is a clause that doesn't have it's not a standalone clause. It doesn't make complete sense on its own. Like in this example we have here, we have: after the Nigerian Civil War, Mr. Onyekere could not set up his old business. In this sentence, after the Nigerian Civil War is a dependent clause because it doesn't make complete meaning by itself. It depends on the following sentence that follows it for its meaning. So, while Mr. Onyekere could not set up his old business is a complete sentence, after the Nigerian Civil War is not. And now to differentiate both of them, we make use of a comma, and the sentence is made more readable by doing that. Now we'll move on to the semicolon. The semicolon is basically used to join two independent clauses without using a conjunction like and. The group of words that come before the semicolon should form a complete sentence, and the same goes for the group of words that come after the semicolon. The two sentences should share a close logical connection and must not be two wildly different ideas communicated in two different sentences linked together by a semicolon. The semicolon claims its functionality somewhere between the comma and the full stop. So a semicolon is basically used to separate two complete sentences described here as independent clauses, like we're going to be seeing in the subsequent examples. So, example we have here: I ordered a cheeseburger for lunch, semicolon. Life's too short to be counting calories. In this particular example, you discover that the sentences on either side of the semicolon are complete sentences that make perfect sense by themselves, and they also have a logical connection. They share a logical connection. Now, the person making this statement is trying to draw a connection between cheeseburger and calories. Take note that the sentence after the semicolon does not begin with a capital letter unless the sentence after the semicolon starts with the proper noun. Now, lives in this particular sentence does not begin with a capital letter. So we have, I ordered a cheeseburger for lunch. Lives too short. Now the lives here doesn't begin with a capital letter because it's not a proper noun. So if it's a proper noun that's there now, for instance, say Michael, a person's name, Michael, Michael will begin with the capital letter M because it's a proper noun which usually begins with the capital letter. Also note that you don't use semicolons together with a conjunction, so the following sentence is wrong. I saw a magnificent albatross, semicolon, and it was eating a mouse. So you don't use and as well as a semicolon in a sentence. It's grammatically incorrect, so you have to pick and choose. So either of the following sentences are correct. I saw a magnificent albatross, comma, and it was eating a mouse. Or I saw a magnificent albatross, semicolon, it was eating a mouse. Semicolons could be used to divide items on a list if the items are long or contain internal punctuation. So certain list items could contain internal punctuation, like the example we have here, and in such a case, like, you will still have to differentiate between the list items. And in this example we have here, let's look at it. I need weather statistics for the following cities: London, England. Now London, England is a list item on its own. Now normally when you are distinguishing between list items, you use the comma, but in this case the list items themselves have comma. They have commas in them, so you have to still distinguish between them somehow. So that's where a semicolon becomes useful. So we have, I need weather statistics for the following cities: London, England, semicolon, London, Ontario, semicolon, and so on and so forth. Although semicolons are not used with conjunctions, they should be used with conjunctive adverbs like moreover, however, otherwise, therefore, then, finally, likewise, and consequently. Thus the following sentence is correct. I need to go for a walk and get some fresh air, semicolon. Also, I need to buy some milk. Now, the importance of this particular rule is that we should be able to distinguish between conjunctions and conjunctive adverbs. So while semicolons are not used with conjunctions like we have seen, they are used with conjunctive adverbs. So we should be aware and conscious of where we have conjunctions and where we have conjunctive adverbs, so that we will know how to treat semicolons. Let's move on to grammar. Under grammar, we're going to be considering certain topics. We'll begin with concord. The concord refers to the rules guiding the agreement of a subject to the verb. Some of these rules are outlined below. The first rule is that singular subjects go with plural verbs and vice versa. So we have a very simple example here. Chima runs fast as opposed to Chima run fast. Second rule is phrases like along with, together with, as well as, in addition to, accompanied by, including, and except do not affect the nature of the subject. Thus, in such a case, the singular subject remains singular and goes with a plural verb, and vice versa. So we have Chima along with his brothers goes to school. Without this additional information here, along with his brothers, the sentence will be Chima goes to school. So this rule is trying to tell us that the inclusion of this additional phrase here does not affect the nature of the verb to be used, the form of the verb to be used. Prepositional and other phrases inserted between subject and verb do not change the nature of the subject. So we have, for example, the photographer for the 3 weddings has not been selected. The photographer has not been selected. The inclusion of these 3 weddings here has no effect on the form of verb to be used. 2 or more subjects joined by and 2 or more subjects joined by and will always go with plural verb. So we have Chima and John sing every day. Now the inclusion of that, the use of and to join the 2 subjects, converts it into a plural subject which necessitates the use of a singular verb. So we have Chima and John sing every day, as opposed to Chima and John sings every day. Where 2 subjects are joined with or nor, the verb is considered in line with the subject closer to it. For example, Chima or his brother is going with us. Now this is better exemplified in the second example. We'll look at it here. Chima or his brothers are going with us. So in this case, we have Chima and his brothers, and ideally both of them would use very different verb forms. Now in this case, we have both of them in one sentence, and the rule states that the verb form to be used in that sentence is going to be determined by the subject closer to the verb. So since brothers here is closer to the verb, we have Chima or his brothers are going with us, rather than Chima or his brothers is going with us. Everyone, everything, everybody, anyone, anything, anybody, someone, something, somebody, no one, nothing, nobody, each, and nothing. Think nothing is repeated are singular subjects which require singular verbs. For example, everyone is bringing his or her suitcase. Both, few, several, and many are plural subjects that require plural verbs. So we have few are bringing their cases. All, any, more, most, none, and some can either be considered as singular or plural subjects depending on how they are used. We have an example here. All of the pie is gone. We also have another example. All of the pies are gone. So the takeaway from this is that the form of verb to be used in such a case is determined by the context in which these words are used. So in the first case, we see that the whole from which the part is taken is singular, and the form of the verb is determined accordingly. In the second case, it's different, since we have pie in the first case and pies in the second one. So you can see that the verb form in both sentences vary. So it depends on the context. Let's move on to parallelism. Parallelism is the use of components in a sentence that are grammatically the same or similar in their construction, sound, meaning, or meter. Parallelism adds balance and rhythm to sentences, and probably the best way to determine the meaning of parallelism is by examining sentences that lack parallelism. So we have an example here. Olympic athletes usually like practicing, competing, and to eat ice cream sandwiches. Now you might notice instantly that there's something wrong with this sentence. There is no relationship. There's no balance between this practicing, competing, and the third activity. So we have practicing, competing, and instead of naturally having eaten ice cream sandwiches, we have to eat. Now there is a lack of parallelism in this sentence, and it's corrected in the following sentences. It can either be Olympic athletes usually like to practice, compete, or eat ice cream sandwiches, or Olympic athletes usually like practicing, competing, and eating ice cream sandwiches. A lot of examples used in this course were pulled off the Grammarly blog website, and I should probably mention that it's a very good resource. So if you ever find yourself stuck, you can always consult the Grammarly website. I'm sure you'll find something useful. Let's move on to ambiguous pronoun references. This is the use of pronouns in a way that makes it unclear to whom the pronoun refers. It's one of the most highlighted grammar mistakes. We have an example here. It says, Helga had cited John and Tim. John had a card for Helga, but he couldn't deliver it because he was in her way. Now it's unclear who was in Helga's way, because the he doesn't definitively refer to any of the characters, any of either John or Tim. So we are left wondering who actually was in Helga's way. And the simple solution to this problem is to replace the second he in the sentence with the name of the person. So we have Helga had cited John and Tim. John had a card for Helga, but he couldn't deliver it because Tim was in her way. Now this makes it clear exactly who was in Helga's way, and we don't have to wonder who it was that was in Helga's way. So let's move on. Finally, we have tautologies. So most of us should have heard of this right now. So it's just like unwarranted repetition of the same thing. It's not an efficient way of writing, especially when you have a word limit. In this case, that articles normally have word limit, and it's not a very efficient way of writing. And as editors, you should be able to identify and excise superfluous portions of the work, so that the work will look presentable and the writing style will be efficient. So I think that's all for this course, and I wish you good luck on the review team.